comes from Geet, meaning song, and Anjali, meaning offering, and thus together means an offering of songs. Tagore was the first non-European to be awarded Nobel Prize in Literature in 1913. In the citation, the Nobel Committee wrote, "The Nobel Prize in Literature 1913 was awarded to Rabindranath Tagore because of his profoundly sensitive, fresh and beautiful verse by which, with consummate skill, he has made his poetic thought, expressed in his own English words, a part of the literature of the West."
Gitanjoli was originally written in Bengali and then translated into English by the poet himself, who, in his own words, never had the full benefit of a regular education. Rabindranath Tagore was a Bengali artist who wrote novels, short stories, poems, plays, essays, composed music, and took up paintings. Tagore was brought up in a cultural home environment of poetry, music, and classical art. The Jorashanku Thakurbari in Jorashanku, north of Kolkata, West Bengal, India, is the ancestral home of the Tagore family. The Rabindra Bharati University campus is located in Jorashanku. It is where the poet was born in 1861, spent most of his childhood, and died on 7 August 1941.
In Gitanjoli, Tagore distinguishes between the creator and his creation. He presented the human character as a lowly being, dressed in rags, full of debts and failures, waiting for the Lord to pass by her house. The praise for the beauty of nature features prominently in his songs.
আমি ভিক্ষা করে ফিরতেছিলেম গ্রামের পথে পথে, তুমি তখন চলেছিলে তোমার স্বর্ণরথে। অপূর্ব এক স্বপ্ন সম লাগতেছিল চক্ষে মম, কি বিচিত্র শোভা তোমার, কি বিচিত্র সাজ। আমি মনে ভাবতেছিলেম এ কোন মহারাজ।
আমার মিলন লাগি তুমি আসছো কবে থেকে, তোমার চন্দ্র সূর্য তোমায় রাখবে কোথায় ঢেকে। আমার মিলন লাগি তুমি আসছো কবে থেকে।
While most of the poems and songs were written in Shantiniketan, a good number was written in Shilaida also. Tagore was due to sail from Calcutta on 19 March 1912. On the night before his departure, he was suddenly taken ill, and the doctors forbade an immediate voyage. His luggage was on board and had to be sent back from Madras, where the ship halted next. He was disappointed at this unforeseen cancellation of his voyage. He sought consolation and strength by retiring to Shilaida on the banks of river Padma. It was here that he began to translate for the first time some of his Gitanjoli songs into English. The story is in his own words.
It was then the month of Chaitra, March, April. The air was thick with the fragrance of mango blossoms. All hours of the day were filled with the song of birds. When a child is full of vigor, he does not think of his mother. It's only when he's tired that he wants to nestle in her lap. That was exactly my position. With all my heart and with all my holiday, I seemed to have settled comfortably in the arms of Chaitra, without missing a particle of its light, its air, its scent, and its song. In such a state, one cannot remain idle. It's an old habit of mine, as you know, when the air strikes my bones, they tend to respond in music.
আমার খেলা যখন ছিল তোমার সনে, তখন কে তুমি তাকে জানতো? তখন ছিল না ভয়, ছিল না লাজ মনে, জীবন বহে যেত অশান্ত। খেলা যখন ছিল তোমার সনে।
He talks in his Nobel return speech about the solitude in Shilaida, amid which he began his translations.
I remember how my life's work developed from the time when I was very young. When I was 25, I used to live in utmost seclusion in the solitude of an obscure Bengal village by the river Padma in a boathouse. The wild ducks, which came during the time of autumn, were my only living companions, and in that solitude I seemed to have drunk in the open space like wine overflowing with sunshine, and the murmur of the river used to speak to me and tell me the secrets of nature.
অন্তর মম বিকশিত করো, অন্তর তর হে। অন্তর মম বিকশিত করো, অন্তর তর হে। নির্মল করো, উজ্জ্বল করো, সুন্দর করো হে। নির্মল করো, উজ্জ্বল করো, সুন্দর করো হে।
In a letter to her niece Indira Devi, Tagore recollects his experience of his time in Shilaida.
At Shilaida, I took up the poems of Gitanjoli and set myself to translate them one by one. The pages of a small exercise book came to be filled gradually, and with it in my pocket, I boarded the ship. The idea of keeping it in my pocket was that when my mind became restless on the high seas, I would recline on a deck chair and set myself to translate one or two poems from time to time. And that is what actually happened. You may wonder why such a crazy ambition should I possess in such a weak state of health. But believe me, I did not undertake this task in a spirit of reckless bravado. I simply felt the urge to recapture through the medium of another language the feelings and sentiments which had created such a feast of joy within me in the days gone by.
গীতাঞ্জলি রবীন্দ্রনাথকে পরিচিত করলো পাশ্চাত্য দেশে, এবং বলা যায় যে সারা পৃথিবীকেই বাংলা ভাষা ও সাহিত্যকে পরিচিত করলো। রবীন্দ্রনাথ যখন সমকালীন পৃথিবী নিয়ে তার ভাবনার কথা বলতে লাগলেন 1916-তে, যেমন ধরা যায় তিনি ন্যাশনালিজম বইটি লিখলেন, পাশ্চাত্যের জাতীয়তাবাদের সমালোচনা করলেন। তখন পাশ্চাত্যের অনেকেই খুব বিমুখ হলেন। এইটি আমি বলি যে ক্ষতির দিক। ফলে রবীন্দ্রনাথের এই ঋষি পরিচয়, ঋষি পরিচিতি, এটি তার জন্যে শুভকর হয়নি।
মেঘের পরে মেঘ জমেছে, আধার করে আসে আমায় কেন বসিয়ে রাখো মেঘের পরে মেঘ জমেছে।
Tagore reached London on 16 June 1912 along with his son Rabibdranath and daughter-in-law Pratima Devi. In Oak Park Hill, London, he handed over his notebook of translated poems to William Rothenstein, the renowned artist with whom Tagore had a previous acquaintance.
16 June 1912. Tagore, with his son and daughter-in-law, took a train from Dover to London to meet Rothenstein. The Gitanjoli manuscript was in his briefcase. They left the station, leaving the briefcase behind. Just before meeting Rothenstein, Tagore suddenly realized that he had lost his briefcase somewhere. Worried, they searched everywhere possible, but failed to find it. Tagore asked his son to go to the London Tube's Lost Property Office to look for it. The briefcase was found with the manuscript safe inside at the office of Charing Cross Station.
What was the first song he translated? While the chronology of translations in Gitanjoli suggests somewhat different, Tagore mentions in a reception speech on 17 November 1913 that the song Kolahol to Barun Holo, no more noisy loud words from me, such is my master's will, as the first song he translated.
কোলাহল তো বারণ হলো, এবার কথা কানে কানে, এখন হবে প্রাণের আলাপ, কেবল মাত্র গানে গানে। কোলাহল তো বারণ হলো।
The Bengali version of Gitanjoli, published on August 14, 1910, had 157 lyrical poems. From these, Tagore translated 53 into English and included a further 50 poems for the English version. This came from his earlier works, namely Gitimallo 15, Noibeddo 16, Khea 11, Shishu 3, and one each from Kalpana, Sharon, Choitali, and Utshargo, and one more song, Alo Amar Alo Ogo, Light, My Light, from the play Ochalayaton. This was published by the Indian Society of London in November 1912.
The Bengali version of Gitanjoli united different psychological mindsets in a central place. And the English version was not just a book of verse or another book of Tagore. It was the gateway to the West from the platform of the East. The collected poems were mostly songs representing some of the best of his compositional style.
Rothenstein was deeply impressed with the manuscript Tagore gave him. He had copies typed and sent to William Butler Yeats, Stafford Brooke, and Andrew Bradley, all renowned British poets. Rothenstein arranged a reading of Tagore's poems at his house in Hampstead before personalities like May Sinclair, Evanil Underhill, Ernest Rhys, Fox Strangways, Robert Trevelyan, Ezra Pound, Alice Meynell, and Henry Nevinson. William Yeats read some of the poems, which made a profound impression among the guests.
Several receptions were given to the poet, first by the East and West Club on 8 July, the invitation of the India Society's reception in his honor at the Trocadero restaurant on 10 July 1912 was signed by Rothenstein along with W. Hornell, Mrs. Suldam Shaw and A.H. Fox Strangways. The price of the ticket was fixed at 5 shillings. This particular dinner was the most significant event of Tagore's life. It paved the way for his easy entry into the Western intellectual circle. The Times reported on 13 July with the headline, "Dinner to Mr. Rabindranath Tagore." Here also Yeats read Tagore's English translation of 3 lyrics. Radcliffe seconded the toast and spoke of the remarkable record of the Tagore family in the intellectual leadership of Bengal. The cover of the book Gitanjoli had a special look. A portrait of the poet from a drawing of William Rothenstein appeared. In March 1913, Macmillan published their own edition. By the end of that year, it had been reprinted an astonishing 13 times before Rabindranath Tagore won the Nobel Prize.
Yeats wrote an introduction to the work. These lyrics, which in the original are full of subtlety of rhythm, of untranslatable delicacies of color, of metrical invention, display in their thought a world I've dreamt